So guys, most of you know me, but my name is Sarah. Sarah Louise when my ma's angry at me. But Sarah Sarah Linnie. I've been with the task force for 4 years. So my role in the task force is prevention and education lead, specific to substance use. So you will notice these have post-its on your chairs. They are for an activity we're going to do. Just mind them. I'll be checking at the end who still has their post-its. If you don't have one, I do have more, but just hold on to them. We have an activity coming up, so we don't need them just yet, but just hang on to them, all right? Does everyone have a phone and you've turned them on silent? I'm going to be totally bold now and go against Evelyn and tell you to take them out, because the first thing I want to do is a little Mentimeter, okay? So who has used Mentimeter before? Perfect, perfect. I am going to go into, because this is my first time, Michelle, so if this fails, I'm coming to you for help. So go into mentimeter.com on your phone, okay? Or you can scan this QR code. But if you go into Mentimeter, you put in this code, and then when you put in what is prevention to you, we're going to get a lovely little word cloud here. And then we can screenshot it then later and see how beautiful it is. Now, if it says 4 responded and they're not coming up, Michelle, what does that mean?
It's take a minute.
Okay. That's something I'm known for. So we have already reducing the risk twice, reducing the risk of harm, protection, information, public health, education, expanding horizons. I love that one, expanding horizons, beautiful. Support, early engagement, early intervention, absolutely, very, very important in prevention. Better than cure, I really like that one. We have well-being, which is well-being, I'm assuming, if someone's as bad at spelling as I am. It's the fingers when you're typing fast. Decisions, change, longevity, knowing. Small word, but very, very, very powerful. Reaching out, that one just came up there, that's lovely. Intervention, understanding. Risk assessment. I'm actually going to screenshot this, and then if we're sending around notes or anybody wants this or anything like that, I can send it on, because sometimes these word clouds can be lovely just to capture the essence of what we think prevention is, because prevention is so different for everyone. Everyone thinks prevention is where they come from in their work, their biases that they bring with us, and we all have them, you know, and that's natural. So it's about us all having a shared understanding of what prevention is, and specifically, I suppose, evidence-based prevention and prevention science, which is what we're basing our prevention strategies and interventions off. So all of those things are prevention. Every single one of those things is prevention. Prevention is so, so wide. So in September, I was very, very lucky to do 2 things. I was very lucky to get onto the European Union Drug Agency Prevention Curriculum, which was open to everyone in Europe. So I think of 30 people, there was about 4 of us from Ireland that were able to get onto it. So we did the Advanced European Union Prevention Curriculum training. And then I was also very lucky to get a little bit of funding from Lagos exchange program, and I went to Berlin to the European Union Society for Prevention Research Conference in Berlin. Myself and a colleague of mine went. We were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed over for a bit of conference and a bit of sightseeing. So we went over and we learned loads, and it's really given me an insight into what prevention science is and how prevention science should lead our work, I suppose. So what is prevention? By prevention interventions, we mean those that have as their primary objective to help people, especially, but not only young people, to avoid or delay the initiation of the use of psychoactive substances, or if they have already initiated use, to avert the development of substance use disorders, harmful substance use or development. So that is one that is used by the HRB, that's one definition. Then the other definition that is used by the EUDA would be drug prevention approaches range from those that target society as a whole, so that's universal and environmental prevention, to interventions focusing on at-risk individuals. So that's indicated prevention. Now, we were talking about the drug strategy there a little while ago. Actually, these words have been used in the new drug strategy, which is fantastic. It's fantastic to see the drug strategy using prevention science in its pillars of its strategy. I think the last drug strategy, prevention, was mentioned twice, or someone might correct me. It was, Dean, you're laughing. How many times was it mentioned?
No comment.
Okay. The new drug strategy, it is mentioned a whopping 28 times. Okay, I checked last night. Very sad life I live. But I checked last night, 28 times, my personal opinion, still not enough, but we're getting there. We are on a process, a journey together. So we are getting there. So what we focus on in the task force, we focus on providing youth-facing training. So when we talk about youth-facing, we mean anyone that works with young people where they are directly working with them. So that's children and young people. So we provide training, information and support to agencies and the relevant community members. So I would be engaged very heavily with the youth services, the schools and the CFSNs, which is the Child and Family Support Networks. Then we're also going to be looking at researching and developing evidence-based responses. Why is it evidence-based so important? Because it's researched. We research it, we know it works. If it has evidence behind it, we know that that has some kind of merit that we can bring it into our community and it will have an impact. And we support grants and projects for schools, communities and sports-based drug prevention supports. So what I would say there is, and it's a really nice one that we just got in, an example of this would be that we've recently funded a project where there is a local sports club going into some of our most disadvantaged schools in Finglas and building up a relationship with the young people, doing skills-based training with them and trying to get young people back into the club, which is just a fantastic piece of work that the task force can say, we know that engagement in sports clubs, we know that engagement with our community does protect young people. It is a protective factor in terms of prevention. So they're the kind of stuff that we really want to support in the community. So we're going to respond to the needs based on 5 different types of prevention. So indicative prevention, so that's your individual prevention. That is when you're working directly with one person, okay? Then you've got your school-based prevention. Does exactly what it says on the tin. It is working with schools to help them work with young people to prevent problem substance use. Family-based prevention, so working with the family unit as a whole. And actually, I'm very proud to say that in our task force prevention and family support, we do work very, very closely together. We've always collaborated really well together, and we are very much a team in how we work with the community. Community prevention, so that's prevention at a community base, very much a local community, all right, within Finglas and Cabra and our surrounding areas. And then we have environmental prevention. So environmental prevention is what is around the young person, what is in their environment. That is your local environment, your family environment, your community environment, and then as well your national environment, which is so important. So that would go back to policies. So let's go through what works and what doesn't work, because we always get people saying stuff like, would you not just come in and scare the crap out of them? That does not work, okay? Prevention science indicates to us that isolated drug information sessions have very little impact on behaviour change and can often introduce ideas of using a substance that didn't previously exist. If you have one young person in a classroom and you're concerned about that young person is coming in and they smell like cannabis in the morning, is it then worth it going in and telling 30 young people about cannabis, telling them what it looks like, what the effects are of it, how much it'll be on the street? Why are we then advertising cannabis? You know, so we really have to be strategic about what we're doing with young people. As well as that, if someone external goes into a classroom and they do a once-off talk and then they leave, the young people have all these questions. Who do they ask? Who do they get the answers of? That person is left. The information is gone with that person, and the teacher is standing there like, well, I don't know how to answer these questions, because we as a task force are doing a disservice and not teaching the teachers how to respond to those questions. Workshops about decision making, and this is a funny one because actually I have a youth work background, and a lot of the youth workers in here will know this, but it always comes down to like, we need to teach them about decision making, how to make positive decisions. Decision making around drug use are of lesser importance to young people than fitting in, acceptance and belonging, which are key needs in the teenage years. The part of your brain that you need for decision making does not develop until your 20s. For women, it's earlier. For males, it is a little bit later, okay? So usually mid to late 20s. The need for acceptance. When you are in your teenage years, that part of your brain, it is on full fires, like it's firing on all full cylinders, it really is. So young people, this part of their brain is not even developed to try and teach them about decision making. You can try and teach them about decision making, but with the understanding that this acceptance and belonging is going to take precedence. Young people we all want to be fitting in. We are herd animals. Human beings are herd animals. We want to fit in. We want to be accepted. We want to be with a group. Young people are very much like that. They are so influenced by their peers and by social media. So you have to have that into your head when we're working with young people. Sorry, I don't know why my laptop is not doing this. It must be, who owns Apple? Steve Jobs? It's the ghost of Steve Jobs, guys. It's the ghost of Steve Jobs. And then scare tactics. Scare tactics don't work. And I'm actually going to give you a little anecdotal story here. So I was in a school 2 years ago. And there was this group of sixthers, and me and the SPHE teacher were doing a programme in collaboration. She'd asked me to go in and give her a hand delivering a programme. So we were working with this sixth-year group, and this sixth-year group were telling us about what they get up to on the weekends, and there was drug use involved, and very normalised drug use. They thought it was a laugh, and we were trying to work with them around that. And this young person told me that he lived in a bedroom, always lived in a bedroom, with his auntie, who was a heroin user, and had lost a limb to heroin use because of infection. So, was that young person aware of the effects of drugs? You tell me. Was the young person aware of the effects of drugs? Yeah, he was. Was the young person going out and taking drugs? Yeah, he was. So does it work? Does it work telling young people, oh, well, look, this is what could happen? No, because young people think they're invincible. You know, when we were teenagers, we all thought, no, that's very far away from where I am. I'll sort my life out before I get to that stage. So what would be the point then in saying, well, this could happen to you? Because they're like, nah, that couldn't happen to me. So there's loads of people on Instagram that do drugs. There's loads of people that have great lives that do drugs. So that's what you'll hear back. So the scare tactics, they don't land. As well as that, if you bring a person to a class and you get this person who has lived experience of addiction, you are also putting a lot of pressure on one person who is quite vulnerable to go in there and discuss their own life, which is opening up a whole can of worms for that person and opening up a whole lot of triggers, and then sharing that with a class as well. People who are vulnerable are not show and tell, you know. But as well as that, it also tells the person in the classroom, oh, well, I had this really tough time with drugs, but I came out of it. Look how great I am now, I came out of it. So it's almost glamorising it. Does that make sense to people? Oh, that's Steve Jobs, is that me again? Perfect. So, people will use drugs for a number of reasons, but not all people will use drugs. That is really important, okay? So we all seem to think so many young people are out there doing drugs. Most of our young people are out there, they're all doing this, they're all doing that. We don't actually have the research to show that. We don't have the research to show the majority of young people are doing this, that, or the other. Research is important because it gives us the evidence, but right now it's just a whole lot of hearsay. So I think that's why it's important to use evidence-based programs and use research that's already out there, because then that will help lead the work. So that includes young people. So what works? Skills development, emotional awareness, problem-solving skills, self-efficacy and assertiveness. So the ability to say no. The ability to actually say to their friends, no, I actually don't want to do that, if they were. Because the research shows that the first drug a young person will get will be from a friend, all right? Positive behavioural beliefs, delayed onset of substance use. The later somebody starts using a substance, alcohol included, the less likely they are to get addicted to drugs. An emphasis on positive norms, changing misperceptions about drug use. So this would be, I think, where we see ourselves a lot, and especially in youth work. A lot of young people are like, it's normal what I'm doing. So if we challenge those normalities of what they think is normal and help them realise that actually there is another normal, which doesn't include substance use, you know. So, now your post-its, guys. It's so exciting. I know you're all thinking, yay, what's this post-it about? It's so exciting, it's pink and bright. So I am going to read out a list of, you don't have to move around, don't worry, it's a Friday, it's gloomy, I'm not going to have you doing too much. I'm going to read a statement, and I want you to give yourself a star on your post-it if this statement is relevant to you. Just want to take one and pass them around. I like to keep busy. I stick to a specific healthy diet. What is it? Don't be cheating. I am physically active. I am socially active. When I say I will do something, I will. I don't delay tasks at hand. I am not a procrastinator. I am not a procrastinator. I like change. I like change. I don't need people to motivate me. I am very good at planning. I like doing what my friends are doing. I am influenced by people I see in the media. So there was 12 stars, 12 questions. So does anyone have 12 stars? Does anyone have 11 stars? Does anyone have 10 stars? We have one with 10, perfect. Very motivated. 11, very motivated, very good. Who has 9? Who has 8? Okay, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Do you have anyone with 3? I feel like I'm doing lift off. So I want you now to think back to all them statements. I'm not going to read them out again because we do have a time schedule and everything. Think back to them statements. Would you have the number of stars you have now on your post-it when you were 14 years old? Would anyone say that they would? Would anyone say that, yeah, 14-year-old me would definitely have had this many stars? No. I actually think that the last 2 questions would have been very much the only stars that I would have had when I was younger. So the last two statements. I like doing what my friends are doing. Absolutely. That was me as a young person. My mum used to say, oh, and if Lavinia around the corner, if she was to jump off a bridge, would you do it? Yeah, absolutely. Will people think I'm cool because I did it? Well, then I'm going out and I'm doing it. If she put her hand in the fire, would you do it? My hand's in the fire. My hand's going into the fire. So when we're younger, we really want to be accepted by our peers. We really, really want that because it makes us feel normal. That's why we're seeing today a lot of young people as well having communities online, which I think, look, it has its harms as well. We are seeing young people who probably stayed in their room with absolutely no friends, having friends. They're online, but they do have friends. So that is our little motivation. I won't have you doing any more interaction stuff, okay? I apologise if that put anyone out, but I hope it didn't. So we're going to go through the different types of prevention that we're going to be looking at and what that actually looks like in the community, okay? So indicative prevention, so that is individual prevention, individual cases. We are going to be supporting youth-facing staff with training to identify young people's needs for referrals or support. So the 2 interventions there are motivational interviewing and SIR brief intervention. Motivational interviewing is a framework, it's an essence, it's a spirit of how you talk to somebody to help them motivate themselves to make changes. That's why the motivation, see, it's all starting to make sense now. That's why I did the motivation thing. So that is motivational interviewing. It is being able to have a conversation with somebody to help them identify where they need to improve in their lives. It's not about us fixing things, and actually motivational interviewing is very much about you losing the need to fix things for people. Because that's why we get into these jobs. We're all in the jobs we're in because we want to help people, we want to fix things. All right? SIR brief intervention is very much a structured conversation to have with somebody to assess how problematic their substance use is and then what to do to respond to that. So that is very structured. They are 2 of the trainings that we are able to offer in the task force. I am actually a trainer of motivational interviewing now since last year, so I'm able to offer that myself. And then we have plenty of SIR trainers nationally and in around our local area in Dublin as well. So we are able to provide that for people. So there's stuff that we will be putting on for any of the youth-facing services so that they can work with a young person if they feel there is an individual response needed. All right? Then we are going to be supporting youth-facing staff with prevention-specific training. So putting the pieces together is a manual of activities that you do in a youth work setting with young people to help them look at harmful substance use. So putting the piece together, I used to call it my Bible. It was for a very long time coming into this job. Putting the piece together was my Bible. There's so much information and it's a great resource to have. And that's something that, again, I do the training in. And we have been very, very lucky to train people in the community from youth work to school completion project to the guards. I had a guard come to one of them just to see what's going on with young people. So we've had really, really good engagement from different agencies in the service, which is really good when we want to connect the dots up for our young people, you know. Know the score. So this is a resource specifically for SPHE. So SPHE, as some of you know, is becoming mandatory now in September for senior cycle students. It wasn't previously. So we are ready with Know the Score training. It is a resource that you do with this SPHE teacher, does it in the classroom. And we actually have a training over the midterm in February that is open for all of our schools in Finglas and Cabra. People just need to register by getting in touch with me. So that is for specifically SPHE teachers to do in the classroom, but it's a really good resource. Teachers will be given the skills to have those conversations with young people, how to manage challenging questions that can come up, because they're very sensitive topics that we discuss at times, and being able to know how to respond to them in an effective way, in a beneficial way, is so important. So that's the Know the Score training. Then we have the School Health and Harm Reduction Programme is the SHARP programme. So the SHARP programme, I'm just going to touch that real quick so that it doesn't die on me again. Won't get me this time, Steve. That is the SHARP programme. So that is a programme that is SPHE again, but specific to first years. All right. So it is all about alcohol harm reduction. But the skills that are taught in SHARP are definitely transferable to other substances. The reason that it is done so young is because that's the research that was done on SHARP, was around that early group. Like, the information in SHARP would probably be too naive for an older age group, if that makes sense to people. But the whole evidence around the SHARP programme is really about how effective it is to teach teachers to be able to have those conversations around alcohol with the young people. That's why it's so beneficial, because it opens up that dialogue between the teacher and the student very early in the student's life, so that the student then is able to go through school trusting that they have a teacher that they can talk to. And then we have the Steps to Cope programme. So the ladies were talking about Steps to Cope earlier. So Steps to Cope is definitely something that we do in the task force. I've been providing the Steps to Cope intervention for, I think, 3 years now to young people in the area, and it's something that we are trying to build capacity now in the area to provide. So it is like the 5-step programme. It's a very structured intervention for 5 weeks that you do with a young person to help them cope with someone at home substance use. All right. So I've worked with young people who maybe have a parent, who have a brother. I worked with a young person who lived with his nanny who had substance use issues, and it's really good. It's a really good tool as well. A lot of us, look, we all know that the mental health system in the country could do with improvements. The Steps to Cope can be a really, really good intervention to help a young person who is waiting on a counselling list or waiting for a CAMHS appointment as well. So if you have a young person who is struggling, who you think, do you know what, this might just be a little bridge for them, it's a fantastic intervention just to get them into that therapeutic mindset of coping and different ways of coping. And then we are going to be supporting referral pathways to relevant services, so helping people access services like Cross Care Drug and Alcohol Programme or SASI. Skill-based prevention, we have putting the pieces together. The reason I say skill-based is because putting the pieces together is meant to be done in a youth work setting, but is a fantastic piece of work to do with LCA. Because Know the Score is really good, but putting the pieces together is just a little bit more advanced in terms of young people who are familiar with drug and alcohol issues, of dealing with those. And sometimes young people who do LTA are young people who are at risk of getting involved in problem substance use earlier. Then we have the SER brief intervention. We will be looking at training people in schools to be able to have that intervention with young people so that they can assess, is this problem substance use? Do they need a referral or do they just need information? Motivational interviewing, Know the Score, SHARP, and peer-to-peer. So our aims for schools are for schools to implement evidence-based substance use specific programmes as part of a wider SPHE curriculum. For schools to be aware of and utilise referral pathways to family support and addiction services. For schools to have key staff with adequate training who can respond to concerns of problem substance use. And to work with school staff to develop community prevention as part of a wider network of services within Finglas and Cabra. So putting the piece together, I've already explained that. It is a resource for people working with young people of mixed ages and abilities in out-of-school settings to provide a practical approach of working with young people, parents and communities. SHARP is the 6-week programme in first years. Know the Score is engaging young people in exploring and considering a wide range of topics, relating to the risks associated with drug and alcohol. Peer-to-peer. So peer-to-peer programme is a programme that we do absolutely every year. It is brilliant, and Peter was very lucky to do a piece of work on us before, our cameraman over there. So every year, all the schools in the area get involved, which we're very proud of. I think it's going for 324, Mary, you might know. 425 years? 25 years the peer-to-peer program is going. So basically every year we invite schools to nominate 2 to 4 young people from transition year. They come together to do a 6-week program with myself and a teacher called Michelle Colleen, who works in the area. She's a homeschool liaison in the area now. So myself and Michelle put together 3 weeks of drug and alcohol information and then 3 weeks of facilitation teaching skills. The young people develop a presentation around a topic of their choice. We help them make sure it's evidence-based, make sure that's not going to be harmful. And then they go back and they deliver that to first years. So it's about that peer-to-peer learning, and it really is a great way for positive role modelling, because I think the older young people in school don't really know how much of an influence they are to the younger people coming in. So it's about making them aware of that and then making the younger ones aware of, well, maybe I could go to this person, you know. Then the SIR, I already told you about that one, and motivational interviewing we went through as well. So family-based prevention. Our aim is to provide support and information to families that will empower them to make positive decisions about their health and development. So the EFFECT program, this is one that I'm actually really excited about because it is new. The EFFECT program is a program that we are looking for a bit of funding around. Wink, wink, nod, nod, guys. Anyone with funders here? Only joking. So there is a guy over in Sweden who is going to be coming here in August or September to do a piece of work with teachers. It's called the EFFECT program. So the EFFECT program was developed in Sweden. It is basically going to give teachers the ability to have a 15-minute presentation with parents on the start of the school term. Oh, look, that's Steve Jobs again. I'm just blaming Steve Jobs on everything today, guys. Hang on. So Nicholas Katanis is his name, and he's going to be coming over, and there is a 2-day training happening, and basically the teacher, whether it be the homeschool liaison or the guidance counsellor, whoever, will do this 15-minute presentation with the parents when the first years are coming in, and it will help the parents set boundaries with the child around their alcohol use. So what we find is that a lot of parents might say something like, oh, I'd never let him go out with the lads and do nitrous oxide, do fast gas. I'd be so ashamed if he came home on fast gas. But on a Saturday night, I let him and his friend have a few bottles out the back garden. It's all harmful substance use. And actually, the harm that alcohol will do to your body is probably more than the harm nitrous oxide is ever going to do to your body. So we do tend to have this acceptance in Ireland around alcohol use and young people. So our hope there is that in helping parents create boundaries with young people, that they can create boundaries that are transferable to other substances then. And it will just empower parents to have that conversation and have that boundary with their young people. We're hoping that if it's done in a school, the parents as well can support each other in keeping those boundaries. All right? So the EFFECT program, very exciting now. The guy is coming over, he's doing a 2-day workshop in Kerry and a 2-day workshop in Finglas, Cabra, and it will be the first time that this intervention will be done in Ireland. So it'll be very, very exciting for the area to get it in. And it's just something that I would have learned at the European Union prevention curriculum training that I did. It was really, really well researched and beneficial in terms of behaviour change. Then the family-based prevention, as I said, the Steps to Cope is a collaboration between ourselves and family support. We will be providing information workshops to adults of young people, so whether that be the youth workers, the coaches, the parents, the older siblings, the residents unions, all this kind of stuff. We're going to be doing information workshops on all the supports we have and how to approach the topic of problem substance use. And then we're also going to be supporting other referral pathways to parenting programs like PUP or Triple P, which are really beneficial as well. So community prevention, our aim is to equip the community with resources and training to be able to support prevention, to create an environment that is aware of what prevention is and feel supported in rolling out prevention-based intervention programs. So the SESH program is the first one I'm going to talk about, and the SESH program is a program that we've been doing for years with the Finglas Resource Centre. So every year we train this Finglas Resource Centre youth workers, whoever needs to be trained, in putting the pieces together, and then we help them develop and roll out a program around substance use, and then they identify the young people who are going to be part of that program. We fund it, so the young people are usually young people that you will see there's different risks with, and then we fund for those young people to come in and do the program, and then they go on a trip as well. Megan, you actually do the SESH program last year, and it was really good. I went and talked to the lads, and they let me do the pose with them.
They want you back as well.
Do they?
So many questions.
I had to do, the yup bro pose, where they take a photo and they do this. I actually had the lads do the pose with me. I goes, lads, can we do the pose? And here we were like this at the pose. So I'm in with them now. But it is good every year, isn't it?
No, it is. And last year was my first time rolling out, so I done the training with yourself.
Yeah.
The guard was there as well.
Yeah.
So it was really good training, and then rolling it out. Young people obviously get adapted to their style of learning and stuff like that, so they really love like the videos and the discussions after and stuff. So it is a really good training, yeah.
Totally. Thank you. So that is something that we do in the community every year. In community prevention, we're going to be appealing to resident groups, family support services and parents associations to try and implement some of this learning. I have a youth advisory panel that we created in the task force. It would have been around the time that I started, so probably around 3.5 years ago. And we have 2 young people who lead out on that in the community. They're 22 and 21. They're from Finglas, and they are absolutely fantastic. They do everything from helping me have consultations with the community to going out in the freezing cold and handing out leaflets on the street at Christmas time to help people cope over the Christmas. They're fantastic young people. One of them now is actually in college studying law. And we are doing a piece of research around cannabis use in the area, and this young person is now on our research advisory group as well. So the young people are doing absolutely amazing work. So we're going to try and build the youth advisory panel. We are going to make training such as MI and SIR available to community members, and we are going to be engaging with the community through community networks, community events and information days. So environmental prevention, very similar to community prevention, so I do apologise if I'm a bit repetitive here. Working as part of the local community on various networks to enhance the understanding of prevention and engage with stakeholders in the training. Working with the National Drug and Alcohol Education Workers Forum to implement evidence-based strategies across our communities. So that forum would have been around a while ago, and I think just before COVID and during COVID it kind of just didn't disband on purpose, but you know, different things are happening. I think COVID had an effect on a lot of things, a lot of committees that were going. So last year, myself and my colleague Kathy Martin from Clondalkin Task Force, we got the Drug and Alcohol Education Workers Forum back up. So it's been running for a year now. We've been doing fantastic work as well and having speakers come in and all, so it's brilliant. Working with trained prevention workers to implement the European Union prevention curriculum, and then later this year I hopefully will be going to Lisbon to do the Train the Trainer on the European Union prevention curriculum. And then working with the Drug Prevention Unit and the HSE and relevant agencies to develop prevention on a national basis and advocate for better choices to be made available to make it easy for people to make the positive decision. So our key focuses, these are stuff that I haven't covered. Continue the development of research around young people and cannabis use. So I don't know if people are aware, but the research now shows us that less young people are using cannabis. It is something that we didn't feel was, myself and a few of my colleagues, we didn't feel was really local data. We didn't feel like that was reflective of Finglas and Cabra. So we have been able to start a piece of work in conjunction with the HSE, the Ballymun Task Force and Brace, who are the addiction service out in Ballymun. We have now gotten researchers on board, so we're going to be going out to different schools. We're going to be going to school, a community training centre, and we're going to be approaching young people on the street to ask them a number of questions about their cannabis use, because a lot of the research that shows cannabis use is coming down in young people is only done in transition year. The problem with that is that young people who are in transition year naturally aren't at risk of cannabis use as much as other young people. So I'm trying to capture everything. And actually, Cabra Community College, Denise is the homeschool liaison, and they've kindly been one of our sites of research. So we are going to be working closely with Cabra Community College and doing that. We're going to continue training MI and putting the pieces together to youth-facing staff. We are going to be working with Michael McKay in reviewing and developing the SHARP programme. So later this year, we're going to be making changes to the SHARP programme. I don't think it's been changed in about 10 or 15 years, so we're overdue a change there. Michael McKay actually developed the SHARP programme. He's a researcher, so we're bringing him back on board. We're going to work with local youth provision to implement evidence-based programmes and interventions specific to substance use. Establish a Steps to Cope local working group to provide best practice step to cope. Continue building the DOOF, lads, the DOOF network. It sounds gas, doesn't it? But I actually love saying it, the DOOF. It's the Drug and Alcohol Education Workers Forum. They want to change it. I don't think we should change it. DOOF is a fantastic word to say. It's fun to say. So we're going to be working with the National DOOF network with an aim of developing prevention practice nationally to be more evidence-based. Continue awareness workshops with adults of young people and adults working with young people. Research and implement the family component of the SHARP. Oh, actually, I should say this. We're hoping that with the SHARP and the effect together, that it's going to be so much more beneficial, because research does show that when SHARP is done with a family component, that it is way more beneficial in terms of behaviour change. So the EFFECT programme is going to be teamed with the SHARP, and then we are going to continue working with the Community Training Centre. I do a piece of work now every Tuesday. I go up to the Community Training Centre in Meekstown, and if a young person needs a referral, or they want to come in and talk to me, or they need steps to cope, I do that with the young people. So I have a really good relationship up there. Sometimes I'm just there if the young person wants to come in and get them familiar with access and services. So I go up. So we're going to continue that piece of work, because it's a fantastic piece of work, and even just getting them on board in the task force as well. And that's it, I can breathe now. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone. Perfect.